Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group has been helping families here in the Huntsville area plan for a successful retirement. Chris strives to understand all of your financial needs to help guide you on the path to your retirement goals, creating income in retirement, maximizing your savings, and minimizing taxes. Chris has the strategies you need to help you sustain a successful retirement. Welcome to the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer, and welcome to the Rocket City Retirement Show, the show that helps you plan the retirement you want. Today, Chris Wallace from WG Financial Group, right here in Huntsville, joins me to talk about helping preserve your income from some of the risks you might not see coming. Chris is a certified financial planner, and Chris, welcome once again.
Yeah, glad to be here, Lou Ann.
Always so happy to be here with you. Here's the big question that we want to ask today. Is your retirement going to be able to risk a sneak attack? Now that might sound a little alarming to people. What kind of sneak attacks are we talking about here?
Sneak attack. I hate sneak attacks. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't either. It's very scary.
Yeah, I don't like it when somebody sneaks up on me and like scares
It's a
you.
little jumpy.
Yeah, I like to do it to other people.
Yes, I know you do.
I just don't like it done to me. So yeah, there's a lot of sneak attacks in retirement if you think about it. So we're going to talk about some of those, I'm sure, on today's show. But being too conservative, I feel like is one. I feel like if you're too conservative, that can be a sneak attack. I feel like inflation can be a sneak attack. I feel like longevity can be a sneak attack in retirement. But the other one that I think is kind of a drag on the portfolio can be expense ratios inside of funds that you actually own. That can be a sneak attack as well throughout retirement. So let's just talk about an example. One of the things that we do for families, individuals and families, whichever comes in to see us, is we'll do an investment portfolio analysis where we'll go in and we will run a fee analysis on all of the funds that you own. And we will look at the average expense ratio within your portfolio. Now, there are a lot of investment vehicles out there today, so we're big advocates of you paying as little as possible to get the desired outcome that you're trying to get in your retirement that aligns with your goals and objectives, but we want to do that in a cost-effective manner. Now, I don't want to discount fees as being, oh, they're bad, everybody should never pay fees. No, that's not the case. You have to look at the value you're receiving. So a quick example would be if you're paying a 1% fee, but you're yielding 30% returns, to make a wild example, hey, then that 1% would be worth it, right? So you do have to not, don't overlook value is what I'm really trying to say. But typically with expense ratios inside of funds, we want to make sure that we're not overpaying. And I've seen portfolios that we've done analysis on before where I've seen the average expense ratio at 0.85. Sometimes I've seen them over 1%. That's incredibly high. That, in our opinion, that's really high, and we need to look at a different set of funds. What is kind of common that I see when people come into the office, they say, I'm not paying my advisor any fees. Well, that tells me right there that if you've got mutual funds, for example, and you're not paying your advisor any fees whatsoever, that's a good indication to me that your advisor probably sold you front or back end loaded mutual funds. So what that means is you paid a commission to get in those, and you may pay a penalty to get out of those if you get out too quickly. But typically those are going to have a higher expense ratio associated with them because somebody's got to get paid at the end of the day. So I think it's worth, if the viewers are out there watching the show today, coming in, sitting down, talking with us so that we can do a portfolio analysis, try to look at the fees that they're paying so that they don't get that fee sneak attack in retirement.
Right, yeah. Great idea. Come in and do a fee evaluation or analysis. Another sneak attack that you mentioned is longevity. And you wouldn't think that longevity is a bad thing, living a long time. That's what we all, dream of. But talk about how that is a financial risk in retirement, living a long time.
Well, it is, because we're living longer. I mean, when we think about longevity, we tend to think family. Okay, how long did my dad live, my mom, my aunt, uncle, whatever? And at the end of the day, the genetics have very little to do with it. I've said this on previous shows that genetics play only about a 25% chance, or percentage, effect on your longevity. It really has more to do with the way that you conduct your lifestyle, diet, exercise, tobacco use, community, being in community, serving, doing things in retirement to really just add value. And just, I think it makes you feel good. I mean, I don't know about you, but have you ever felt bad when you did something nice for someone or served someone?
Never.
Never. It creates a feeling inside of you that is hard to replicate, right? So that, believe it or not, plays a lot into your longevity as well. So, once you retire from serving the corporate master, sometimes it's better to serve other people in retirement, and that tends to help people from a longevity perspective. But to your point, it doesn't seem like a sneak attack, or at least to me, it doesn't seem like a sneak attack for longevity, because you just keep living and you think, oh, well, this is great, I'm going to live longer.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? So your family gets to enjoy the fact that you're around longer, but typically you start to, diminish a little bit. Your body starts to break down. That's the way we're designed. Our bodies just can't do at 90 what they did when we were 20. And the chances of you needing some sort of long-term care or health care, that becomes a lot more likely. But, again, there is the benefit of you still being around, but the quality of life is what I'm driving at, tends to start to fall off a little bit. And that can be a little bit of a sneak attack on your portfolio, because guess what that means? You're going to pay most likely higher healthcare costs, and you may have to encounter some long-term care expenses as well.
Exactly. So yeah, living a long time, it's a good thing, like we're talking about, but you have to plan for it, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, planning's important. I think some people just overlook the aspect of planning. I think sometimes people will talk to a broker or an insurance agent, and they come up with this magic product that's going to solve everything, and that's most of the time, from what I've seen, that's the furthest thing from the truth. I think sitting down with an advisor who does comprehensive financial planning with a focus in retirement that can help you address those risks that are in retirement, and long-term care is one of those. You don't think about that. Like if you're 30 today watching the show, you're not thinking about that unless grandma or grandpa is in the long-term care facility. Then you kind of think about it, but you don't think about it for yourself, because you're 30, and that's just not what we think about. Young people don't think about dying. They don't think about estate planning. They don't think about long-term care. What they think about is, how can I make more money? How can I save more money? Hopefully is also what they're thinking. But the reality is, sitting down with somebody to focus on building out a comprehensive plan. I know that at my firm, we run people through a Right Retirement process. We provide a Right Retirement report card that kind of scores how they're doing today, so that we can address some of those things to help them get ready for retirement. So usually we're focusing on families that are 5 to 7 years out from retirement. They've saved adequately for retirement. They've done a really good job at saving that money, but they aren't sure how to pull it out. And one of the things I'm going to communicate to families that come in and see us, and I'll do it right here on TV, is it's going to feel different. For years, you've been pushing money into that retirement plan, and now you've got to turn around and pull it out. And it's just a different feeling. It's a different behavioral pattern. For 30 or 40 years, it's all been this way. And for 30 in retirement, you've got to do this way and pull it out. It's a lot different.
It's a totally different transition.
It is.
It's a totally different way to look at life and your money.
It is.
So thank you so much for all of this. Now, it's important to have a handle on some of the risks that you might not see coming. So you'll want to stay with us, because when we come back, Chris talks about another culprit that may be launching a sneak attack on your retirement. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Planning on passing your IRA to your children or grandchildren? That could be more of a burden than a blessing due to the recently passed Secure Act. This legislation eliminates the Stretch IRA, which means now when loved ones inherit an IRA, they could also be inheriting a huge tax bill. Now's the time to sit down with a trusted advisor to find out how you can maximize the legacy you want to leave. Call today to find out how the Secure Act could affect you and your retirement plans. Don't let taxes dictate your legacy. Call now and leave a legacy you feel secure about.
You have a club for every scenario. A driver for the long holes. Wedges to get you over the hazards. And a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today, and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
Congratulations, you did it! You worked hard and saved for retirement, but now you have questions. Could my taxes increase? How will I cover my expenses? Will my income last? You need a strategy to help make sure your hard-earned money goes the distance in retirement. That's why we're offering this free guide designed to help you determine if your nest egg can withstand the challenges of a 21st century retirement. Longer lives, increasing healthcare costs, and taxes are just a few of the possible risks to your income. Get the guide today and take the first step to help your money last in retirement.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Welcome back to the Rocket City Retirement Show. I'm Luann Fulmer. We're here with certified financial planner Chris Wallace of WG Financial Group right here in Huntsville. And we've been talking about sneak attacks on our retirements. And Chris, you've helped us understand about the impact that longevity and high fees can have, really without us even being aware of it. So I want to talk now about another risk. Why don't you give that one to us, another sneak attack?
Oh, inflation. Right?
Yeah.
The silent killer. It just kind of sneaks up on you.
Right.
Although I would argue, and you'd probably say the same, but over the past couple of years, it doesn't feel like much of a surprise, right?
No, not
Just
really.
kind of, it's all in your face. That's all we ever talk about. But if you think about it, it's been roughly 40 years and we haven't had like massive runaway inflation. Now, when you look at the average inflation rate, let's just kind of use 3%, things are going to double about every 24 years. So that's a long time for things to double, but over time things do get expensive, so it's a little bit at a time over a period of time, and that's why it kind of creeps up on you in retirement and through retirement. If you look at 21 and 22, I mean, it was all in your face because the Feds had to go on a rapid rate increase to calm it down, and now we've seen inflation kind of trickle down. But the bad part about it, the inflationary effect, and I've talked about this on previous shows, is that permanent price increase. So the inflation that drives the cost of certain goods up to a certain point, the cost of those goods isn't going to go back down. The media is going to be reporting that inflation is coming down, but you and me and my kids and my family and friends, they're all paying more at the grocery store when we go to the grocery store. That is the difficult part about inflation to understand, is that permanent price increase. And I've said this before on the radio, I've talked about it on previous shows, but falling inflation doesn't mean falling prices. And that's where I think it's really hard to understand. So that inflation during retirement, Luann, that can be a huge risk. And you have to account for that. You have to be able to build that in your financial plan. You also have to look at the healthcare inflationary side of things as well. Under normal circumstances, like we've seen throughout history, healthcare is going to inflate at a rate that's going to be a little more than double of what the normal inflation is on a basket of goods. So in our financial planning process, we're looking at two different inflation rates. We're looking at one for healthcare, one for those necessary living expenses, and we're building them into the financial plan and inflating them throughout retirement. Now, what you're going to find as you go through retirement is on your basic living expenses, and I saw this with my grandparents, and I've seen it even with my father as he's begun to age himself, we tend to spend a little bit less, right? So we're spending a little less. So in a sense, that's kind of offsetting, a little bit of that inflation on our normal basket of goods, where we were spending maybe $4,000 in today's dollars, and then by the time we hit our early 80s, maybe we're down to $3,200. So we've kind of offset some of that inflationary impact on the normal basket of goods for the normal living expenses. What really hits you hard is the health care, because as you know, the older we get, and I go every year to get a physical, I'm sure you do as well. We encourage everybody to do that. The medical technology is there. You should be going to do that. But the older you get, the more likely you are to need medications for certain situations. So the more you go to the doctor, and the older you get, the more expensive healthcare gets. So you've got rising healthcare costs, and then you've got inflation on the healthcare on top of that. That creates a little bit of what we call the retirement smile. And I didn't coin that. That's a term David Blanchett uses. He used to be the head of research for retirement at Morningstar. But you've got the declining expenses through retirement when it comes to your normal basket of goods and those living expenses.
You call that a smile?
Well,
because it's going like this.
But really good point. That's the frown part of it.
Yeah.
But then you've got the healthcare part, which is the retirement smile, and you've got the healthcare costs actually really going up. So that creates a little bit of a problem. So most families, again, are going to spend a little bit less on their normal living expenses, but the healthcare is going to get them.
Oh my goodness. So that is going to be huge. We keep bringing it back around that we need to plan for this. We have to plan for inflation, just so many things. And so I just want to talk about your discovery visit that you always offer on the radio show, and then also here to our viewers for people to come in and visit with you about whatever happens to be on their mind. If they want to make sure that they are ready to retire, if they have questions, walk us through your right retirement process, and then just tell us what it's like when people come in to see you for the first time.
Yeah. So what you see is what you get, right? So when you come in for a discovery
Right
session, this is it. This is what you're going to get. So when you come in for that discovery session, we call it a discovery session for a reason. I don't know much about you, so I want to discover more about you or your family. It also gives you a chance to discover more about me, because you see me in a 30-minute window here on TV, but it gives the people the opportunity to ask me a few more questions. I have a pretty heavy following here in the Huntsville area because of our radio show. We've been on the air for quite a while, and now we've been on TV for over a year. So we've amassed a pretty good following when it comes to people that kind of know me. But that discovery session allows us to get to know each other a lot better. It's a super easy meeting. We're going to ask that you bring in some certain amount of documents that we would like to see to make the meeting run a lot more efficiently. We email those over to you once we've confirmed an appointment, and then you show up and we just have conversation like you and I are having now. It's a very easy process for anybody to go through. I'm non-threatening. You're not going to be asked to sign any documents. I'm not going to ask you to give me your IRA when you come in for that meeting. I literally want to learn more about you and your family and what you want to accomplish long term. We're going to talk a lot about your goals, because retirement is more than just your money. I think a lot of financial advisors, really focus on the asset amount, and I want to focus on somebody getting out and doing the things that they should be doing in retirement, which is turning off the news and the media and the YouTube channels and the websites that we go to get our news nowadays, and really go outside and play. I know that when you and I were growing up, Luann, we would go outside at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
We wouldn't come home until dark.
Right.
Why? Because our parents told us to do that. Get outside and go play. And you could go as far away from the house. You didn't have anything to worry about. You went and you showed back up to eat, and you went back outside and played. And you played until dark, sometimes well after dark, And that's what I think retirees need to be doing in retirement. I don't think they need to be staring at their accounts every day. I don't think that they need to sit there and be fretting about the balances. And I don't think they need to be glued to the TV trying to keep up with the latest round of politics and what's going on in the stock market. Build a plan that will allow you to go outside and play, and not have to feel like you got to come back every 15 minutes. Go outside and play. That's what the discovery session is about. It's about building that financial plan, putting those pieces in place to allow you to go outside and play.
And that's why we're here every single week, right? So here's how you can contact Chris and the team at WG Financial Group. When we come back, Chris will answer some of your questions, so stay with us.
Just when you may want to forget your age, Uncle Sam says not so fast. Knowing your age is more important than ever when it comes to taking your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Legislation just changed the age requirement, and not accounting for that could impact your retirement plan. It could be key to not overpaying on taxes in retirement. So remember, when it comes to RMDs, age is more than just a number. Before your next birthday, call today to secure a strategy for the RMD age change and your retirement. There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Welcome back to the Rocket City Retirement Show. I'm Luann Fulmer. I'm here with Chris Wallace of WG Financial Group. He is a certified financial planner. So it's now time to hear from you. We're going to be asking Chris your questions. So are you ready for this?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. This one comes from Marie Marie in Harvest, and she asks, can you explain the term rebalancing? I keep seeing it in retirement planning articles, and I don't think I really understand what it is.
Yeah, this is a great question. This is one that I would not have expected someone to ask.
Yeah.
Rebalancing, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
So let's just say, for example, Marie, we've got a portfolio. Let's just say it's 50% stock, 50% bonds. And let's look at things over the last like 10, 15 years. We've seen a really nice run up in the market. I know we had a nice little correction. Some would call it a recession in 2022. But at the end of the day, for the last 10 to 15 years, we've had a really nice run up in the market. So what happens is, if you've got a 50-50 balance of stocks and bonds, because the market has done incredibly well and bonds have done not so great, you get a little bit out of balance. And what a rebalance is doing is bringing those back into balance. So technically, that's what rebalancing means. So we're trying to rebalance the portfolio back to the risk tolerance that you're wanting to achieve during your time horizon that you're investing for. And, how often to do that could be a really big question. We're big fans of trying to do what we call quarterly rebalancing. And in the quarterly rebalance, also kind of assessing the economy and where things are kind of moving. Because let's take COVID for an example. We know that when COVID hit, the Feds basically crashed the rates to zero. Well, we know falling rates is good for bonds. So that would have been an opportune time to maybe do some shifts within the duration of some of the bond holdings that maybe you had in the portfolio. So we're kind of advocates and in favor of doing what we call a quarterly rebalance to make sure that we're keeping that in balance, but also taking a little bit of a tactical approach and making some minor adjustments to the portfolio to kind of bring things where they need to be to optimize as much as possible, or at least try to achieve as much potential return as possible relative to their risk tolerance.
Okay, excellent question. Thank you for that, Marie. Next question is from Jim in Madison, and he says, how much communication should I be having with my financial advisor? I only talk to him if I reach out to him with a question, and that rarely happens.
Yeah, so that it's going to vary. I think every advisory firm does it differently, but I do believe you should be hearing from your advisor a couple of times a year. We like to do what we call a check-in, at some point during the year. And then there needs to be what we would call a full-blown review, where we're going in and we're just verifying all of the numbers, we're validating the data, rerunning the numbers for the financial plan. So I would say at bare minimum, you should be hearing or meeting with your advisor at least once per year. I think there is, time for a check-in, is what we call it again, just to kind of see how things are going. I know at our firm, that's kind of the way we're going to handle it. We also do some other forms of communication. I really won't get into those, here on the show, but just direct communication, I would say at bare minimum should be once a year. I'm in favor of doing at least twice a year.
And I know you have special events. You have a Christmas party too every year.
We do some other things, other forms of communication as well, just to make sure that we're keeping our clients really well informed as to what's going on.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's a way for them to get that social participation that they need in retirement too, to be around other retirees and
for sure.
One big happy family.
Yeah.
Here's one from Gary in Athens. He says, I am 62 years old. My wife wants me to retire and start collecting Social Security, but I'm not ready to retire. And I honestly don't think we have enough money saved up. What is your recommendation, how we should go about this?
So, do you notice what Gary's done right here?
He's putting it on you.
He's putting it on me to go against his wife.
Gary.
His wife wants him to retire and start collecting Social Security. He's like, hey, Chris, what do you want to do? What do you think we should do?
Yeah, why don't you tell her?
Boy, this is good.
Tell her.
Boy, his wife is not going to like me. So a couple of things here. So outside of trying to be funny, I think this warrants sitting down with an advisor to really understand where you are together as a couple. Like, he feels like he doesn't have enough saved, but his wife is like, hey, I really want you to retire. Which, honestly, Gary, hey, man, that's a good thing, because I know some wives right now, they don't want their husbands at home. They're like, hey, you can just keep on working, just get out of the house,
Yeah.
But I think that I think sitting down with an advisor, because he sounds like he has a valid concern. So number one, I would say sitting down with an advisor to make sure you can actually retire. Now, that Social Security, that's a whole different topic. And I don't know with Gary if he made more money or if his wife made more money. that's to me, for at least from my planning perspective, that's going to determine how we actually claim Social Security. Does Gary have enough to retire at 62? I don't know. We can determine that. Does he need to claim at 62? I don't know, but we can determine that. I can tell you that we have a lot of clients who retire early and just wait on collecting Social Security. What they're doing is they're using strategies to Roth convert, to spend down some of their taxable money. Just because you're retired doesn't mean that you have to claim Social Security. But Luann, I hear this a lot. I hear that when somebody retires, they want to turn on Social Security. That's just what they think. They think, okay, I'm retired, I'll turn Social Security on. There's a lot of value in waiting on Social Security, and there's a lot of strategies that you can do where you can intertwine in delaying Social Security into your financial plan to help your situation make it long term. I'll give you an example here. Number one, we know Social Security is taxed more efficiently. So I would tell Gary's wife, let's just assume she made the lesser of the income. Then I'm going to have to tell Gary's wife, and she may not like me, but I'm going to say, hey, Gary's wife, Gary should wait on Social Security, because if he waits and then if he were to pass away, and he's probably statistically, unless you're a lot older than him, he's probably going to pass before you. So it's in your best interest that Gary actually wait on Social Security, because that's the amount you're going to keep should he pass away. And then I can kind of show him some numbers to say, listen, maybe you have a big IRA. Maybe we want to spend down some of that. Maybe we want to Roth convert some of that. And by delaying Social Security, later on in life, they'll end up having usually more net income. Now, again, everybody's situation is different, but I think, again, for them, it warrants running some numbers. And we can do that with what we call a discovery session. That's part of it. Part of it is to come in and have those type of discussions. We want, families to come in together, because we've talked on previous shows about how we want the spouse to be really involved. Because if Gary were to pass away, it's just his wife, and what is she going to do, and how is she going to make life work after Gary? That's part of our job on the financial side of things.
Excellent. Excellent points, again, as usual. Thank you so much, Chris.
You're welcome.
If you have a question, you can visit the website or call the number on your screen and submit it to us. What you've heard today is just information, unless you take action. Why wait? Call now. We hope to see you again next time. For Chris Wallace and the team at WG Financial Group, I'm Luann Fulmer. Have a great day and an even better retirement.
This program was sponsored by WG Financial Group, where your retirement matters.